Alright friends, fine. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, a very special good evening to everyone. Firstly, apologies as we are today 1 hour prior to our scheduled timings. Okay, this is due to some reason our schedule was coinciding with some other event. That's the reason instead of cancelling we preponed it to 4 p.m. Alright, fine. So that's one thing. Number two, let's have a quick recap of what we have done yesterday. Although we have not learnt anything new yesterday, we were talking about all the content that have been so far covered up as per our Python curriculum. Am I right? Good evening, my friend. Good evening. Okay. And what we are yet left to do. Correct? Fine. The last main topic from Python that we have covered up was regular expression. And today, as intended and planned, we are going to move on to another big important topic of Python as per full stack, that is Flask. Okay, one moment please. Alright, fine. We have got a lot to cover up today, so without wasting any single minute, let's begin. Okay, fine. First of all, Flask. This is a web framework provided by Python. Okay, good evening everyone, those who are texting in the chat section, good evening please. I repeat one more time, if you have joined in late, people, it's a framework. Let me say it's a web framework, a well built web framework who comes with some inbuilt libraries to build web application like a web page and a website. We have never used Python to create a web page, am I right? Up until now we have never used Python to create a website like we used to do in HTML or JavaScript. But if you are working on full stack, we need to learn making an application which could be a mobile app or a web app. Right? So to create this kind of web application, whether it's a mobile app or it's a web app, specifically I'm talking about the web application today. When I say web application, means you are particularly talking about the website, web pages. Right? So to create your web page or to build your web application like any ordinary website, Flask is a small web framework who comes with some libraries to code and build your web application. Okay, it's a very lightweight module in Python, lightweight framework. There is one more such framework that helps us to build a web page or a website, which is Django. But Django is far vast as compared to Flask. It doesn't make sense today to distinguish between Flask and Django unless we learn Django. Alright, I hope people understand. और जब तक हम खुद Django सीखते नहीं हैं, समझते नहीं हैं, so unnecessarily distinguishing between both of these web framework, who is good, who is bad, alright, or who is more good and who is just a better option. So that part I keep it to be discussing or to be discussed during Django sessions. Hoping you are understanding, right? One more time, all my friends who have joined us late, a good evening first of all. We are talking about the Flask framework today. It's an important one, right? It's a web framework provided by Python to create a web application. Alright, web application, as I told you repeatedly many times, it could be a web page, it could be a website, or it could be any other app. Hoping you are getting it. Alright, fine. Okay, now about WSGI, about Jinja and all, whenever the time comes, I'll come back. But before that, today, I would like you to introduce to something called as virtual environment in Python. Okay, now this is something we are doing first time today in Python. ये काम हमने पहले कभी नहीं किया है. Right? What is virtual environment? How to create virtual environment? Okay, now generally what happens, virtual environment, it creates an imaginary environment in Python where you can run a particular project with its dependencies inside. Alright, now what happens is, see what happens. For example, if I install Python, that is my Python idle. Okay, I install Python, and after installing Python, I'm working on one project. Okay, let me say that project is app1. Okay, this project requires a library whose name is library1 and say version 1.1. Okay, then suddenly I start working on app2, which is another project that also requires the same library called as library1 but the version of the library I'm working for app 2 is not 1.1, it is something 2.3 or 2.4, maybe that would be the latest one that time. Abhi hoga kya in Python, if you install the same library of a different version, this will coincide with the coding and functionality of the first app. Right, so there will be conflict. You will find first app now misbehaving and some functionality not working. Understood? Or vice versa. So there are 10 packages, or let me say 10 libraries for application 1 with some version. The same 10 libraries for application 2, maybe with same or some different version. But if this version conflict happens, I hope you got my point. So for example, I've installed Beautiful Soup 4, I've installed Beautiful Soup 3, I've installed Beautiful Soup 2 also. But the project which has been built using Beautiful Soup 2 will now take the package Beautiful Soup 3, and some of the functions which were there in Beautiful Soup 3 but were not coded in the project 1 or project 2 will unnecessary older project start showing me error. I hope you got my point, right? So to overcome this problem, this kind of libraries conflicting with each other, versions conflicting with each other, Python allows us to create an environment or a virtual environment. Right? That means what? Instead of installing this package directly in Python, you better install these packages inside the virtual environment. So only the associated project in that environment will be concerned with it. Tomorrow if you install the same version, or let me say the different version of the same library in some other environment, the first project will be least affected. It's like, making rooms inside. Hoping you're getting my point. Okay, making the different rooms inside. So project 1 in Python working under one room, project 2 in Python working in the second room. Now what is happening in the second room, first room doesn't know at all, not bothered at all. The stuffs in the first room is also there in the second room, maybe with some changes. So if I install the same package 10 times, 20 times, 30 times with different versions, different releases, that is guaranteed not going to disturb the configuration of other environments and their installed packages. Right? I would be glad if someone could acknowledge to me in the chat section this concept of virtual environment. Are you understanding or not? So now I install Beautiful Soup 1, say in virtual environment first, Beautiful Soup 2 in the second virtual environment, Beautiful Soup 3 in the third virtual environment, Beautiful Soup 4 in the fourth virtual environment. These are all the web scraping packages. So the project that needs Beautiful Soup 4 will never come in contact with the library Beautiful Soup 3 because Beautiful Soup 3 is installed in a different virtual environment. Is that okay? Beautiful Soup 3 as it is installed in a different virtual environment. So there will be no version conflict, no coding error, no misbehavior shown by the projects working in different environments. So that is one thing that is needed to be learned. Okay, so Flask is like a good example where we can make use of virtual environment. And suppose if you do not want to create these virtual environments, you want to directly start coding your program, that is also okay. Alright, I just intended to introduce you the concept of virtual environment creating in Python. More than how to create a virtual environment, it's necessary to understand why to create a virtual environment. Right? All my friends who are present here, listen to my two questions carefully here. What am I arguing for? Whom am I arguing with? Alright, more than understanding how to create a virtual environment, people, this is what we are talking for, my friends who have joined us late now. More than understanding how to create virtual environment, we are more interested in understanding, why to create virtual environment. Alright, so this is all that I have answered you. In case if you have missed, please watch the video in recording again. Alright, fine. And the second option I gave you, if you don't want to create virtual environment, you're not bothered, it's okay. You can directly start writing the code. But let me show you how to create it. Okay, fine. So to do that, I first open my command prompt. You want to run as an administrator. I'm already an admin here. I'm continuing. I go into some appropriate directory where I want to create or where I want to work. Okay, mkdir, it's a command to create a directory and it stands for make directory. Alright, first of all, using pip command, you have to install virtual env, that's package. People, let me say a library that stands for virtual environment. Okay, now for me it's already created. Alright, for me it's already installed, so it tells me everywhere, sorry, requirement already satisfied. You have to first do that. Is that okay? Then create a directory where you want to work. Suppose I want to work in the directory, say day 27. Okay, it already exists, fine. So let me say day 27 Flask. Okay, I switch into day 27 Flask. People, I switch into day 27 Flask. Don't worry, these steps I have written here. All these steps I have written here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make directory. Change to that directory. Only the directory names would be different. I shall be sharing with you this file. And then this is how we create virtual environment in the particular directory. So virtual env, venv. Alright, venv. I have named the environment as venv. You want, you can name the environment something else also. Okay, so the command to create a virtual environment, first of all, create a directory. Inside the directory, create an environment. Okay, it's like an instance of Python, people. जो बच्चे अभी भी नहीं समझ रहे, virtual environment, it's like an instance of Python, right? So it has given you a message here, okay, environment created. Okay, but after creating it, you need to make sure that you activate the environment. How to do that? /, that means from the current directory, environment scripts folder. People, environment scripts folder. I doubt why it was not working. Okay, let me go ahead. My slash is wrong. Okay, that's the reason it was not working. Not working means, like, even if you type few letter and you hit tab, it should automatically come. Look like this. Script, people. I need not to write the full word script. एक दो letter लिख कर आप tab भी hit कर दोगे, it should come automatically. Tab key. And if it is not coming, that means you're going wrong somewhere. Alright, and we'll run the script called as activate. Finish. This is the command in Windows, but if you're working on Mac system, you will have to make use of the source command to activate the environment. Okay, in case if anyone working on Linux or Mac, let me know. I'll show you the command how to activate the virtual environment there. And in case if you have yet not understood the concept of virtual environment, it is still okay. Keep it cool. Don't go crazy behind that. 1 minute. Okay, we will be dealing with virtual environment in a deep depth. Okay, when we start exclusively Django. Okay, because there we are going to create all the projects in the respective virtual environment only, so that the files of different project, libraries of different projects never come into contact, never conflict gets created, and never the two source codes start generating unnecessary behavior or errors or some bugs. Is that okay? Fine. So the activate script, you see this environment has been activated now. And finally, now we say install Flask. So this time Flask will be installed as a library, as a module, people. Okay, only in this virtual environment of Python and not in an entire Python. Hoping you are understanding. Okay, so this time I'm installing Flask. So Flask is going to be installed only in this particular virtual environment, and it won't be installed in an entire Python. Okay, fine. So I say enter, and the Flask has been installed. Okay, let it take time to install. Let the pip command work. Meanwhile, I go here in my Visual Studio Code and I open the folder that I just created. Okay, I open the folder that I just created. It was in D drive. Something by the name, I think, day 27 Flask. This one, right? So I say select folder. Select folder, and we are here with the directory open. Alright, fine. I give you one more option here. for those who are finding it bit confusing. If you have lost the rhythm, आपको पीछे क्या हुआ नहीं समझा, कोई बात नहीं. You are going to start from here. First install Flask. Understood? First install Flask. Like this will be your first command then. Don't create virtual environment. Directly open your command prompt, install Flask. pip install Flask. Right? If you don't want to install on the command prompt, then you can do the same thing in Visual Studio Code also by opening the terminal. Even virtual environment can also be created in VS Code. I made use of command prompt. Are you getting it? All the options that I'm providing? But if you learn the concept of creating virtual environment, that would be great in fact. आप सीख लेते हो तो भाई बहुत फायदेमंद बात है. Alright, so if you are don't want to, then start from this step, pip install Flask. And that's it. Open your directory in the VS Code, and like any ordinary Python program we start typing, I start coding it. Okay, so let me create a file, and the name of my file is app.py. If you're working in VS Code, you have to name the file as app only. Shortly I will give you the reason why. थोड़ी देर में आपको उसकी वजह बता देंगे. Any Flask program, in case if you're writing it in Visual Studio Code, please make sure you name the program as app. Alright, fine. Now, so either I can write like this, import Flask, right? Or I just want one class from this module to be imported. So instead of writing import Flask, let me write it as from Flask import that class which I want, Flask. Okay, remembered object oriented programming, right? Object oriented programming आपको याद होगा, class as an object. So Flask नाम के पूरे मॉड्यूल में से फिलहाल एक क्लास ही इंपोर्ट करना है, whose name is Flask. F is capital of the Flask. Yeah, the word. Right? The first thing that we need to do in the Python program to create a web page using Python Flask framework, you have to create object of this class. Okay, you name this object anything. I call it as app. ये नाम कुछ भी हो सकता है. I can write ABC also, XYZ also. And this is class. Okay, so I'm using this or let me say I'm creating object of the class Flask and storing the object in a variable app. Okay, number 2, always remember whenever you create object of the class, you have to pass the name of the current module. Okay, module means the program in which I'm working. People, the program in which I'm working, including the module itself. Alright, one more time I repeat. Whenever we create object of the class Flask, constructor को argument देना पड़ता है the name of the current module. You don't have to sit and type the name of the module if you don't know. Just use the keyword underscore underscore name underscore underscore. You see it provides me in the auto suggestion here. Right? So that's a token. It's a keyword. It automatically reads the name of the current module. We don't have to break our head behind it. Okay? So even if you don't like, ये काम हमको करना ही पड़ेगा. While creating, come on, bookmark this point in your heads. While creating a Flask object, the constructor need to pass an argument which is the current module or the name of the current module. Okay, and as I told you, we are not struggling to find the name, type the name. You just write the token or the keyword name, 2 underscores behind and ahead. That is lagging and heading. That's it. Okay, fine. Hoping you are understanding till here. Okay, you are not going to say print app, it contains nothing. The next important thing that we are going to use here is we are using decorator called as app.route. Okay, app.route people. Route. This is a decorator. What it does, I'll tell you shortly. People, this is a decorator called as route. Decorator route. Route is a decorator here. Okay, very soon in higher order functions I'll be teaching you what are the decorators. Up until then, तब तक के लिए आप इतना समझ कर लीजिए, any line in Python that starts with @ that's actually a decorator. Okay, the concept of decorator is like a function returns another function. Understood? A function can call another function. Function takes argument as a function. So because the code becomes very complicated, we make the code a little compact and store it in a decorator. For a time being, consider decorator is nothing but a kind of function who defines or who calls another function. Whereas decorator has got a, be beyond the meaning of what I spoke. As of now, decorator starts with @. It calls another function, it returns a function. Okay, now what is the meaning of this route, decorator route? People, it binds URL to the function. It binds a URL. Okay, it binds a URL to the function. Now what do you mean by URL? For example, if I go to my Chrome, if I go to my Chrome and I want to visit Facebook, so I write here Facebook. Okay, one moment please. One moment, I'd say Facebook. Okay, I go to Facebook. How to visit Facebook, what did you write here? This is a URL, am I right? That is the name of the website along with its domain name. That becomes a URL. Now the moment I said facebook.com, immediately I was responded with nothing but the login page, correct? So somewhere this thing must be coded, correct or not, people? ये कहीं ना कहीं पर तो coded होगा. If somebody is visiting this URL, what to reply? This particular thing, right? So this is called as nothing but a sort of binding. So two things you have to answer here: what URL the user is going to visit, and if he types that particular URL, what page response should be responded to the page, what content should be shown on the page. Alright, उसको URL visit करने पर उसे बताना क्या है as an output, as a reply, as a response. You ask me question, I need to answer you back, correct or not? Okay, www.instagram.com for example, or maybe youtube.com. This was a question from your end in the form of URL, and the web page or the website, that document which you see on the screen, that's a response from the server. Is that okay? We understand request response in a client server architecture, yes or no? Would be glad if someone acknowledged to me in the chat section. Request response in the web server architecture, people. If a client is requesting a URL, the server need to respond back to the client with some web page, or maybe at least a message stating, yeah, hello, hi, something kind of. Okay, so that is what in the route method is going to do. Okay, inside the argument, we write it in quotes, the name of the URL. If I write slash, that means the home or the default URL, that is the home page. Okay, just front slash means the home page, that is the default URL. Okay, so let me first answer this question. If somebody comes to my home page, people, what should I reply to them? Okay, what should I reply? Now you have to bind this route, people, this function. You have to bind this URL with some function. So let me define the function. There is no indentation here, mind you. There is no indentation, whereas this route is associated with the function. Try to understand. Okay, so let me say name of this function is function1. Okay, and this function is simply going to return a message. Say welcome to my website. Okay, or welcome to my first website using Flask. Cool, it's time for me to run this program. So let me open the terminal, the integrated terminal I'm using today. Okay, and how to run a Flask program in Visual Studio Code. If you're working on Python idle, you will simply go to run, that's it. Alt F5 or Control F or just F5, people. Okay, for the Flask program we simply write Python -m. Those who are working in Mac, Apple or MacBook, they are going to write py instead of Python. Okay, Flask run. Now note it, there is nowhere in this command we have written the name of the file, because when you write Flask run in any project, come on, the project is in day 27 Flask folder, correct? When you write Flask run in any project, by default it search for the app.py file to be executed by default. अंडरस्टूड. तो आप जब रन फ्लास्क लिखते हो या फ्लास्क रन लिखते हो, द डिफॉल्ट फाइल इज एन ऐप फाइल, एप्लीकेशन. And suppose if you have a little different file name, then you have to actually go into your variables and configure it. Create variable, people. I'm talking about the system variable. Right? So not to divert our track from here, let me continue with the file name app. And suppose if you want to write different programs, so please make use of your idle and write as many Flask programs with different names as you want. Okay. Fine. ठीक है. So Flask run, it's going to by default look for app.py file in Flask to run. I say enter and you look how different is the execution of an output here. People, we are creating, we are dedicating this message to come on the page. Am I right? So what it has done is, it says, see, this is, read this warning, this is just a deployment server. Do not use it for any production deployment. Okay, the output instead you see on this particular link. Either you do control click. Okay, see, control click, या तो इसको control click करिए यहाँ से, or else just copy and paste it. Okay, this is the default port number that Flask runs on, 5000. You don't have to make any changes, people. This is only that front slash which I have written in the code here. That is my default URL, whatever is going to be. The default URL, whatever is going to be, यही उसको यहाँ पे लिखा है. Okay, although we can change the name and all here. Now when I say enter, let it go on. Oh my god, it's become unresponsive. Okay, let me do exit. Hold on, please. Hold on, I'm working. Okay, fine. People, the output is here. Welcome to my website. And if you want to decorate a little this output, then you should have written this, written in some HTML tags like heading 1. Okay, I close and I write heading 1 again. You saw that written message, people. But I'll have to stop this previous output. How to do that? You have to do Control C, stop the execution and run the execution again. Okay, stop the execution and run this execution again, or run the py file again. And after that, all I need to do is just refresh it. I hope it's working. Okay, so this is bold now. Am I right? Okay, a little more sort of formality. This is a complete formality, although say I want some other thing. Font color equals maybe blue. Okay, you close the font tag. I'm not worried about it right now. So I again do Control C and I run this file again. Okay, my Flask is again under execution. No, don't expect to go live here, people. That requires a proper head and body of the document then. Okay, yeah, there are ways I can do go live. There are ways as well. Okay, fine, waiting for here. All you need to do is refresh it, but I hope the server should be running behind. Yeah, hope so, correct? Fine, so other things you please try to experiment here. Of course, you can't insert images and links and all. Links, no, images and all, and some other, but minimum HTML work that you can do in the return statement, that is always possible. Okay, so that's one thing. Now suppose I want to, because a website can be made up of so many web pages. This is not the only web page in my website. Hello people, my website में ये अकेला ही web page नहीं है, और भी web pages है. Right, so from here, for example, if tomorrow I go to login page, or maybe suppose if I go to some customer page, are you understanding? So what to do in that case? URL change होता जाएगा, आप देख लीजिए. right? So let me bind another URL. Come on, this time you all have to help me how to do that. Okay, you all have to help me. Let me abort this down. Let me come here back. Okay, so I use app.route. Okay, route. Say this time URL which I want to bind to my function is people front slash. That means first the default URL, after that this will be continued. Say let me call it as demo, right? So if somebody visits this URL, what to do in that case? Let me bind demo to the function called as function2, and this is again going to return to me some string message telling welcome to, or let me say this is another page. Okay, this is another page. Finish. Right, so let me save this. Let me run up until here. Okay, we are here. Fine. So let me refresh this. Fine. So this, after that, if I write demo, okay, so I'm redirected to some another output. Are you understanding what is binding now? People, someone should acknowledge in the chat section, right? Otherwise we will never come to know you are understanding or not. Correct? Okay, shall be waiting for your messages. Now sometimes it happens we need to accept some argument, either manually or internally due to some system operation, right? So let me show you how do we receive some argument from the URL. Okay, how do we receive some arguments from the URL? Try to understand how do we receive some arguments from the URL. Correct? So for that, let me code another route function. Okay, so @app.route binding. Thank you Raji Guru for that. Okay, I'm binding some other URL, and this time let me say, okay, let me make use of demo only. Front slash. This front slash is compulsory, people, because anything followed by the main web link, correct or not, or the main URL. Okay, so from after demo, now if you want to pass something as an argument, you want to pass something or accept something as an argument from the URL, then you always have to enclose it in opening closing angular bracket, that is declaring the section. Okay, and suppose I'm accepting your entered data in a variable called as I. Okay, in a variable called as I, by default whatever you write is going to be accepted as a string only. Understood? You can convert it into another data type by using the internal type conversion this way. Okay, you will be learning more about this once again, the same point, once we start working with Django. That's a high-end coding. Alright, तो अगर आप कोई argument के form में data अगर accept कर रहे हो from URL, then make sure you're using the sections, that is opening closing angular bracket, that indicates in the URL this is to be accepted as an argument. Now check what am I doing here. Bind people, bandalo, bind this particular URL to function. Okay, let me make use of different function names, please, so that it is easy for us to remember. Function 1, let me call this as function 2, the older one, and this one which I'm creating, let me call it as function 3. Okay, now this argument I'm passing as an argument to the function. Whatever I received in I from URL, you got my point? Break the meaning of this line. Whatever I received in I from URL, I'm passing it as argument to the function which is binded to this URL, and this is simply going to return, come on, this is simply going to return welcome, that's it. Okay, and I'm appending I. Yeah, you can use some string formatting also, because it is string. You can write %s and %i outside. आपको जैसे लिखना है आप वैसे लिखिए. Right? Fine. So let me save this and let me run this one more time. Fine. Till the time it is getting executed, let me come here. Okay, let me refresh this. Oh, wait. What happened? Okay, I think server was not running. My command was executing late, people. Fine. So this is an older output. After demo, I need to write slash, and suppose I enter my name here, Shabnam. I enter my name here. Fine. So it says welcome Shabnam. Right? Welcome Shabnam. Right? Okay. And after that, suppose I want to code another function. This is going to receive an integer, people. This is going to receive an integer. So let me copy this route function now. Okay. Let me accept the integer in some other variable, say j. Say I pass as an argument also j. This is another function. You are understanding now? I am binding another route function now. So instead of welcome message, this time I write, say your age is, let me say j. Okay, your age is j. Fine. So I save this. Let me once again run my Flask server there and the program. Okay, people, जब तक रन नहीं होगा ना, आपको पीछे ही आउटपुट नहीं बताएगा. हाँ, that means the server should always be up and running. Okay, the deployment server should always be up and running, like this way. This output should always be coming to you. Okay, now it's a green signal. You can refresh this page. Right, so when I say welcome, this time some other name, let me write, say the code arc. Fine. So it writes welcome the code arc. And suppose after demo, if I write some integer, say my age 35, for example. I'm just writing for an example. Okay, so is that welcome 35? Okay, so because are you understanding what is happening? See, I wrote 35. Come on, this is a very intelligent answer this time. Let me see who will reply to me. Good evening, Divya. Good evening. Fine. See, I wrote 35, but actually what it should write, your age is 35. But what output it is giving to me, welcome 35. Because 35 got accepted as a string. Am I right? And if it is a string, this route function is matching, correct? For string, this route function is matching. To the first match occurred here. It won't go to the next one. So instead, let me convert it into integer this time. Okay, convert it into integer this time. Here or there. I think still it is going to display the same. Fine, let's see. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it happens well. Otherwise, I will make changes in the first function. Yeah, int, correct, my friend, correct, the one who said. Okay, let the Flask run. Oh my god, my bad. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let me do like that if it is showing me some problem. Are you understanding what's an error? It says that you can concatenate only string. You can't concatenate a number here. I use plus over there, correct? To concatenate. But sorry, plus can concatenate only string. It's not going to concatenate a number. That was an error. So I changed the format here. I'm instead using making use of %d. which is to present the integer, %f to present the float, %s to present the string. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. I hope you got my point. So your age is 35, that means it has automatically detected 35 is an integer and the URL matching to this, let me say the route function matching to this URL is binded to function 4, correct? Somebody guys, please acknowledge, is this clear or not? More importantly, where we went wrong in coding, that is understood? Divya, Rajiguru, Jyoti and others who are present here. करेक्ट. मुझे पहले वेलकम बताया बट वो आउटपुट चाहिए ही नहीं था. अरे आई वॉन्टेड द आउटपुट योर एज. 35 इज नॉट माई नेम, 35 इज माई एज. करेक्ट. सो दिस इज हाउ वी मेड द चेंजेस हियर. All right, fine. Shall be waiting for your response in the chat section, and I continue ahead. Okay. Sometimes what happens is this time I will not type it entirely because we are running short of time. Right? All this code I have already kept it written to message you, mail you, and forward you. Right? Sometimes what happens, instead of using app function or the route function for app decorator, ये decorator use करने के बदले, we can also make use of add URL rule function. What does that mean? Suppose there is a function called as regards. Regards people. Yes, clear. Thank you. Focus here, please. Focus here. There is a function called as regards. Only focus on the line which I have highlighted. What it is returning a message, my website and some copyright. I apologize if that copyright number is already existing. This was my random typing. Okay, my website with some copyrighted. Now you see there is no route function binding this URL to, correct? इसके ऊपर हमने कोई route लिखकर bind नहीं किया. ऐसा कोई भी URL से regards को हमने bind नहीं किया. बात समझ रहे आप? Because this time I'm not using route, I'm not using people, I'm not using route. In fact, I'm using a function called as add URL rule. It accepts minimum 3 argument: URL people, end point of the URL. Now sometimes what happens, our URL is very big. Alright, and for example I'm telling you endpoint of the URL, say fb.co, or let me use like this, mywebsite.com/login, or instead of login let me say customer/login. Now endpoint in this URL is what? Login. Am I right? Endpoint. हो सकता है login के आगे और भी कोई था, authentication. Now what is the endpoint? That is auth. Okay, not every time we want to map the endpoint. Sometimes we might want to map some other part of the URL as well. So that is what is the 2 question it is asking you as an argument. What is the URL? Who is the endpoint to map to? And this time name of the function you want to map to. Right? जैसे कि हमने इधर लिखा था demo j, this is map to function 3. Similarly regard is mapped to function regards, which has been already coded up. So this is an alternate method people. If you don't want to use a route function, this is an alternate method. Will you help me quickly to code it one? ऐसा एक quickly help करके बताइए कैसे जाएगा. So no app route function this time. Let me say def day 27. This is the function and it simply returns a message. People, instead of returning a message this time, let me say one minute. Yeah, okay, something called as render template. Okay, something called as render template means what? Template is an HTML file here. Okay, template is always an HTML file. Suppose I have one HTML file called as index.html. Okay, now you have to create this file. It is showing you error here because this is not imported. Fine. So from Flask, import not only Flask but also import render template. See, it is showing me an auto suggestion. Fine. Now if you see, the render template is gone. The error in the render template is gone. Correct. Now index.html, you actually need to code it. I'll code it shortly, but before that, help me write that app.add URL rule. My system is working a bit slow. Otherwise, this will be shown to you in the auto suggestion, people. Add URL rule. Okay. Suppose then my URL is /try. The endpoint in this URL is try. Yeah, try. And who is the function I want to bind it to? That is day 27. Okay. Now what will happen is, see, if I save this and if I run this, check it out. Let it run. Let me go and visit the URL try now. I visit the URL try. Okay, so I come here, I write it try. Okay, server is running. It tells me straight away, no, this error should not come. It should show you file not found or the template. No. Okay, it's showing me here, look. Okay, in a Jinja exception, it is showing me, sorry, the template not found. Right, so let me create an HTML file called as index.html. Keep checking, index.html. And you write a proper head, body and all. Because of the lack of time, I'm writing just a simple heading tag. Okay, you write it properly, everything. Okay, if it comes in auto suggestion, I'll do that. Okay, forget it. Fine. Chalo, let's not waste time. Okay, let me say this is index file. Okay, this is my index file. So if I could save this and come back here again, come back. Yes, Rakesh, correct. Index file is not created, but now the file got created. Understood? Abhi to file ban gayi. Correct, my friend. Rakesh is right. The file is only not created, but still it shows me the same error. Check. Let the server runs first. The program is yet not executed. Let it run. Everybody saw I created the file index.html. मैंने बना दिया भाई. उस फाइल को मैंने बना दिया. Right? But अभी भी अगर आप देखोगे, okay, fine. It tells me internal server error. Again the same error. Sorry, the file is not existing, not found. Right? Now what happens is, especially when you are working in VS Code, people, this is not applicable to your Jupyter or this is not applicable to your Python idle. If you're working in VS Code, make sure any HTML file you create is actually created in a folder called as templates. Okay, so in your project, first create a folder template. Check the spelling. It can't be template, it's templates. No spelling mistake here. And all the HTML file should be created only inside template. So I'm just moving this file in the template folder. Okay, this index.html, I'm just moving inside the template folder. Move. Okay, so it is now in the template folder. Okay, now let's see. Run this Flask. Run the Flask file again. Okay, I just refresh it and this is the index file. Are you understanding my point? Is it okay, everybody? Please somebody acknowledge. The file was missing, so I created a file. But even after I created the file, it still tells me that template not found. Right? So any HTML file, if you're working for a Flask project under or inside Visual Studio Code, that must be created only in the folder templates. Is that okay? Fine. Alright, now let me write a Flask program which will deal with methods like get and post. Okay, now this is a little logic based coding people. थोड़ा ध्यान देना, थोड़ा हाई लेवल जाएगा, आपको नहीं समझेगा अगर तो वीडियो फिर देखिए एक बार, but it is important. Alright, as we all are dealing with full stack, now this is important how to deal with the get and post, the two different form submission methods. Now to save our time, what I've done, I have already created one form using HTML. Right, so I only copy this code, I come back to my Visual Studio Code, and inside the template folder only I create another HTML file. HTML file सारी template folder के अंदर ही बननी चाहिए, because by default people VS Code HTML file इधर ढूंढता है. Right, चलिए, so I create a file called as customer.html. This file is containing customer form. People, this file is containing customer form. Check it out. What does it ask? So HTML body, and this is some title in a third heading I am writing. Register the customer, fill the form. Okay. Action means what? If somebody clicks the submit button, this is the URL it will take you to. That is what is the meaning of form action. Go back to our HTML days. If you click submit on this form, or if you submit this form, this is the URL you will be redirected to. Correct? And this URL I am going to map using app route function. Got it? Or the decorator. Come on. What it is asking? Customer name, input box. Customer email, input box. Customer contact number, input box. Customer ka pin code, input box. And finally a submit button. I have not done any validation here, so even if you are not writing, leaving it blank, it is still going to accept it and take you to this URL success. Got it? Fine. So if you come here to my app, let me save this. If you come to my app.py, right, let me first create a route function which is going to map to that file, people. Who will help me how to write the code? जरा कोड लिखने में हेल्प करके बताइए प्लीज़. If you're sitting with a book, pen or your computer laptop on, please write some rough code in the notepad at least. App.route. What do I want? If somebody visit the URL called as customer, that form should be open. Okay, who will help me how to write the code? Customer, people, customer, so that login form should be open, or the registration form should be open if somebody clicks on the customer or visit the URL customer. How will you do that? Right, so this is my URL customer. You can give any other name to that URL. एक के बाद एक भी ऐसा भी लिखना तो भी आप लिख सकते हो, something like this. No, but I'm happy with the URL customer. Now bind it to that customer.html. Hurry up, how will you do that? Customer.html से ये URL को आप कैसे bind करोगे? Route function के through. So let me say def. Name of the function I don't remember now. So let me say function 5. You can write any function name, people. ABC, XYZ, PQR, anything. Okay. What this function should do? Come on, return. What it should return? Render template, na? Am I right? Render template means if somebody visits the customer URL, you should be render. You understand English meaning of the word rendering? Redirect or send somewhere else. Okay, if somebody visits the URL customer, you should be rendered to the template. Template यहाँ पे HTML file को बोला है. You should be rendered to the template whose name is customer.html. Is it clear? बताइए, नहीं समझा तो बताइए. I will repeat this part again. Tell me what I did back to back. First I created one customer form. Customer form, people. This form is asking customer का name, customer का email, customer contact number, customer का pin code. And if you submit this form, you will be redirected to this URL. This code we have yet not written. I hope you got my point. उसके आगे क्या होगा फिर? चलिए, we came to app.py file where we were writing our Flask program to create a web application. I binded this URL customer to this function function 5. What this function is doing, whoever visit this URL customer, you will be rendered to the page customer.html. चलिए सब रन करके देखिए यहाँ तक चलता है कि नहीं. Okay, so let me run my server again. I run my server again, people. Come back here. Okay, so this time instead of try, I visit the URL called as customer, correct? Okay, so the form is open. This was the heading we had given in H3, register the customer, fill the form. So can I use my details here, please? Okay, my last used details in the auto typing, I'm using it, contact number, whatever. Okay, fine. So name and email and contact and pin code, and I say submit. आपको क्या बोला मैंने, 2-3 बार बोला ये बात. If you click on submit, you will be redirected to success, correct? But the thing is what, not found बताया, because this particular URL is not mapped to any function, na. I'm not asking you the solution, people. Did you understand this error? ये एरर क्यों आया हमको? आपने क्या बोला मुझे बताइए, क्या बोला आपने? ये फॉर्म को सबमिट किया तो इफ यू सबमिट दिस फॉर्म, action taken will be you will be redirected to this URL. अरे but when you come back to your Flask project, this URL success is not mapped anywhere, correct? This is not mapped anywhere. So let me write a code to map that success. Okay, what am I doing in that now? Come on, what am I doing in that? See. Okay, this is my function. Okay, this is my function. Okay, so I'm routing, or let me say I'm binding the URL success. Okay, it is showing me error here request. That means it is not imported. So let me do one thing. You saw what did I show? Okay, the request, this keyword is showing some warning kind of say indication. That means it is not found or not imported. So render template के बाद में let me also say import request. Is that okay? Fine. So this error would be gone now. Check, error would be gone, people. Now what am I doing? It's yet not okay. It will go. Let it be. Fine. So this is a success URL. How to connect with you for Django course? Dibendu, Django, stay connected. You will automatically get the notifications. Once Python is completed, we are going to start with either Django or MySQL. First MySQL, then Django, or first Django, then MySQL. Okay? Or directly reach out to us. ठीक है people, थोड़ी काम की बात सुनिए अभी, everybody. So this URL success I have binded to the function print data. But this time with the route function, I'm passing another argument, that is method, as a list of two possibilities, either get or post. Remember, the method is get if the form is empty. The method is post if the form is a filled form. Right? Because whatever data is filled in your form, if you want it to be hidden and taken to the server, people, to be hidden in the URL, you don't want to show, expose everything entered in the text box in the URL. So that in that case, we always prefer the method post. Correct? So that is automatically post is considered. पहली बार जब आप फॉर्म रिक्वेस्ट करते हो गेट मेथड से आता है, बिकॉज इट्स एन एम्प्टी फॉर्म. बट सबमिट करने के लिए जब आप क्लिक करोगे तो फॉर्म एम्प्टी नहीं जाएगा, वो भरा हुआ जाएगा. तो भरा हुआ फॉर्म छिपा के लेकर जाना पड़ता है. दैट्स द रीजन द मेथड ऑटोमेटिकली सेलेक्टेड इज अ पोस्ट मेथड. करेक्ट? फाइन. चलिए, नाउ आई एम जस्ट चेकिंग हियर इफ द मेथड इज पोस्ट. सो वन थिंग इज वेरी क्लियर, द फॉर्म इज नॉट एम्प्टी, इट इज फिल्ड. request.form. Okay, now what request.form does, it request for all the data present in the control. Like if there is a radio button, तो कौन सा radio check किया है? If there are the check boxes, how many check boxes were checked? If there are the text boxes, what are the values filled in the text box? Are you getting it? What are the values which is filled in the text box, typed in the text box? So request.form will take out, it will bring out all these values from the different controls of the form and return back to the program or the function. Hoping you're understanding it, right? So where are we storing all these entered values in a result? People, this is going to be a dictionary. Okay, entered data in the form of key value pair, जैसे कि name Shabnam, contact number something, pin code something, what other thing was email ID something. तो key value, key value, key value, key value, पूरा form ऐसा key value pair में retrieve होकर is written back to the function as a dictionary, which I am storing it in result. Is that okay? Fine. And finally, what am I rendering? I am rendering to result.html. People, I don't have result. Let me, my page I'm going to create by the name is result. That doesn't matter. You create a web page by this called as ABC or XYZ. That's okay. Right. So I am first of all rendering this data to HTML file result.html. एंड रेंडर टेम्पलेट के साथ अगर उस HTML फाइल को आपको कुछ और डेटा भेजना है तो भी आप भेज सकते हो, राइट. सो रिजल्ट इज इक्वल्स टू, people, result is equals to result. That means this is the name of the dictionary which I have written here. Alright, so this entire dictionary I am sending as result to result.html, or a data I am passing to result.html. Is that okay? Please one more time the explanation of the code. This URL success with one of the two methods we are binding to the function print data. This is going to print all the data entered in the form. Got it? So first of all we have to request everything that is filled in the form. So using request.form internal property, we requested all the fields from the form. It returns all the field in the form of key value pair, name something, age something, contact number something, email ID something, and this everything is written as a dictionary which we have accepted and storing in result variable. And finally what this function is returning, it is returning, I mean rendering you to the template called as result.html. ये हमको अभी कोड करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो बताएगा file not found. File not found. Are you getting it? So go to result.html and also send this dictionary there. Hoping you're understanding. So let me save my code. Now only one thing is left. Let me go to the template folder and create a file. Create a file called as result.html. Okay, because we are redirecting the template here, right? जैसा ऊपर redirect किया था to customer.html. अरे but customer.html was already present ना. So this time I am redirecting to result.html. Okay, so this is my code for result.html. Come on, you are going to explain this code this time. I did a lot of hard work here. Now it's your turn. Hurry up what it is doing. See. Okay, I'm printing something in a table. This was my choice. You want, you can use some frame set or li, list item, ordered list, unordered list also. And I'm running a for loop here for key comma value. Instead of key value you can also write I comma j. Okay, you remembered na, if there is a dictionary it is always going to return you, people, dictionary.item, this function returns both keys also and values also. Those who have forgotten, please take this point as a homework for today. How to check who are the keys in the dictionary. Suppose A is a dictionary, so A.keys will return me all the keys. How to check the values of the keys in the dictionary. A.values will return only the values of the keys. But how to display key value pair both one by one in the dictionary? Using the function items, correct? But items दोनों देगा, key भी value भी. तो I will be keys and value will be j. Correct? Similarly यहाँ पर I और j के बदले I have made use of the variable key and value. And who is this result? Result जो वहाँ वाली फाइल से people app.py से जो हमने भेजा है. Okay, app.py से people जो हमने आपको भेजा है, app.py से ये डिक्शनरी रिजल्ट भेज दिया ना हमने, तो यही डिक्शनरी जो यहाँ से भेजा गया result.html को, ये जो डिक्शनरी पीछे फ्लास्क से भेजा गया है, उसी पे वी आर रनिंग द फॉर लूप. People, now because this is a Python code, try to understand, we have to enclose it inside this block. Okay, if you are wondering, I think I forgot to tell you that if you want to write some Python or a Flask code in HTML program, HTML can't run for loops and if statements, correct or not? We know this very well. It's a static programming language. For loops and conditional statements in HTML we introduced JavaScript in fact that time, right? But वो HTML में अगर आपको Python कोड लिखना है तो आपको ऐसा ये ब्लॉक यूज करना पड़ेगा. That is opening bracket. Let me write it here in the notepad. People, this block. Okay, this way. So any Python code if you're writing in HTML program, make sure you're enclosing in this blocks. Is that okay, everybody? Fine. So here we go. Okay. So for this particular I comma j in the result.items, right? In each row, because this is going to run in a for loop, in each row there are two columns. One is a key and the other column is displaying its respective value, right? And finally we are ending for, people, because there is no indentation here. How will you come to know the loop ended or not? Again, inside the blocks and mention it end for. I would be glad if somebody could please let me know, is this concept clear or not? आपको ये सब कुछ समझा के नहीं? ठीक है. So let me see one more time by connecting how all this happened. We first created a customer page or customer.html. This was simply form asking to enter name of the customer, email of the customer. This was the form, people. This was a form. Name of the customer, email of the customer, contact of the customer, pin code of the customer. Now when I click submit on this form, it will take me to the success page. Alright, but what success page is doing, come back to app.py, it will tell you. Success URL is binded to the function print data. And what this function is doing, it is requesting all the information from the form. It is returning to a dictionary result in the form of key value pair. And this dictionary as in the form of key value pair we are rendering to result.html, correct? वो HTML page result.html को हमने भेज डाला. Good, thank you everyone who are saying yes or no, right? ये जो डिक्शनरी हमको वहाँ पर मिली, हमने result.html को भेज डाला. अभी क्या करना है वो करेगा. result.html क्या करेगा? It will receive the dictionary from Flask. Come on, from that binded function it will receive the dictionary, run the loop on the dictionary, am I right? Unfold all the key value pairs one by one, and I am displaying this key value in the table. You want to display it as a paragraph, you want to display it as any heading tag, you want to display it as any list item, so the choice is all up to you. Is that okay? Fine. So let us save all these and check whether the things are working or not. Things are working or not. Okay, so let me do Control C. Let me run this. This is the last program we are running, people, for the class today. Okay, so the server is up and running. Look how interesting it is now. So I go to customer. Okay, so the name is here again. Okay, let me use my details again. Okay, let me use the contact number, whatever you want. Now when I click to submit, I'm taken to success, and this time it doesn't tell me it is not found, and it is really wow. It is showing me all the details in the form of a tabular format, correct? The same thing, you take it as a project today, like name of the student, marks of semester 1, marks of semester 2. This way you are accepting marks of 6th semester, and on the success page or on the result page you are printing the 6th semester marks with one more information, the total of all the 6 sem marks. Would you be able to do that? Okay, display all the marks as a report card. What my data entry operator has entered, you display it as a report card with all these marks grand total to the total. Is that okay? All of us understood up until here, correct? My friend, the people who are asking how to reach, please know. So 1 minute. Guys, excuse me for a moment, please. excuse me for a moment. Just for a moment. That was the attendance link, and this is for WhatsApp group. You can connect to me directly there. Okay, connect to me directly on the WhatsApp group, plus 506. Okay, this is our WhatsApp number to reach out to us. Would that be fine, all of us? Fine. Anyways, the coding is understood. Correct. All these files and the codes that we have used today, I shall be sending you soon, right after the class ends today, as well as the yesterday's notepad file of the pending topic and the upcoming topics also will be sending you quick. Is that okay, everybody? I hope you all have enjoyed the class today. This was a little advanced topic, but I would like to tell you, this is not only Flask. There are so many things to learn in Flask, like cookies, about something about Jinja, WSGI, web server, gateway and interface, right? But we would like to keep that short, because as all we are going to take Django as a 20 to 30 hour program. Understood? So that is enough to understand one framework. Is that okay, everybody? All of us here, fine? Chaliye, quick Flask, a quick recap of the class today, people. Flask is a web framework provided by Python. It's a lightweight. It comes in with some additional libraries that help us to create a web application. Okay, we create an object of the class Flask. Using that object name, we then use the route function and bind the URL to the function. If somebody visits a URL, what to reply in that case? Am I right? So that was binding URL to a particular method. Hoping you are understanding. Alright, fine. Okay, in the end we also, yes ma'am, thank you. In the end we also understood some use of get and post method, post especially. Like with the help of post method, how can we receive data, how can we pass this data from one page to another page, so on. This would be great, helpful to you, provided you practice this the day to day itself. आज का आज कर लोगे तो सब fresh है. एक बार give hands on to coding. People, you have to make your hand a little dirty with coding. Okay, वो हाथों पर coding का मज़ा आना चाहिए. Otherwise खाली देखने से कुछ नहीं होगा. You have to practically indulge into coding. Hoping you are understanding here, right? Anyways, see you back tomorrow once again. Please keep checking the group. The class will be either at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Alright, so read the message. If we don't send to you any message, the scheduled meeting will let you know the lecture is at what time. Okay, fine. See you back once again tomorrow. Goodbye. Take care.